afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Binduji. Gulshan, good afternoon. And Kenyan, David, Janavi, Dr. Ravindraji. Oh, that's in some position.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Professor Bindu Kutty. Good afternoon, Professor Ravindraji and Gulshanji and all the participants who are joining today's session. So we welcome you all for joining today's session on core concept of true nature of mind, emptiness, ontological reality, and the effects of their meditation on the psychology and physiology of the individual. And before we start the actual session, I request everyone to keep your videos on. So we would have an interactive session with Geshe Damdul, Director of Tibet House, New Delhi. And kindly keep your microphone on mute to avoid the interruption. So before we start the actual session, Professor Bindu, would you like to say something on today's topic?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Geshe. These 3 days of teaching have created such a significant impact on our perception about mind itself. And it is indeed, I would say that your teaching, especially by providing various examples, it has created such an impact on our attitude, towards life actually. Especially how to accept the emotions and other emotions that generates in the mind, and how to tackle these. So we realize the importance of emptiness meditation, and how important this understanding on this emptiness meditation, how important that it helps in manifestation of ontological reality. It is truly a great insight we are getting about the mind itself. So we look forward to Geshe to have this session 4th and the final session on core concept of true nature of the mind. Over to Geshe.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Binduji. Thank you so much. So basically, today is the last day for this 4-day session program on emptiness. And the idea, as most of you already know, so it came from Dr. Binduji's the inquiry or Dr. Binduji's interest to do research on the meditation on emptiness, how that has the impact on neurologically. So what is the impact like? And then I suggested that the people who do this research, they must have the good idea of what emptiness is, so that they can see that they can actually design the research in such a way that the meditation on emptiness to be distinguished from the meditation on compassion, to be distinguished from meditation on mindfulness, and to be distinguished from the meditation on the meta-awareness. All these, they say, of course, I'm not a neuroscientist. What I can share with you is cognitively, psychologically, cognitively, and the physiologically, what can potentially happen, so that I can share some part of it with the researchers. At the same time, so these could be like the tips and how to, if you know, one, that you know what emptiness is, and how cognitively is very different from how the cognitively the compassion assumes, and how cognitively the meta-awareness, likewise the mindfulness meditation. So cognitively how they are different. If you know this, then the researchers, if you do your own meditation on these, then physiologically you can feel that they are different. They're different, and some you see that the physiological effect you can feel them very gradually, like say the mindfulness meditation, so forth, very gradually. Whereas the emptiness meditation, the effect is very sudden, like a jerk within you. This only if the researchers, you are convinced of this, yes, this is what is happening. So if you can design your the research in this pattern on that basis, then I would say that this is really going to be a breakthrough experience, breakthrough research. And this is one thing. And thus far, there are so many people who do research on compassion, who did research on mindfulness meditation, who did research on the vipassana, who did research on the meta-awareness and so forth. But people doing research on the meditation emptiness, I just heard it once, and particularly if that can be picked up by the very renowned institutes such as NIMHANS, that would be really, and then the people can be benefited a lot from this, how it can be the use for, say, the dealing with or tackling the mental disorders. So this is the broad thing. And then today's I'm going to give overview of what we covered earlier, and also we are going to do a little bit of meditation on emptiness. It's going to be like a guided meditation. At the same time, this overview is going to be very helpful. So for that matter, the one thing is we talk about the true nature of the mind. The true nature of the mind. We see that and of course the researchers, the researcher's job is to learn these things, and of course not to take them too literally, because the researchers, of course, you are very objective. You need the objective approach. With this, what you will learn, and experientially, if just see if these make sense. If it makes sense, this will give you a very different way of, say, qualitatively, a different way of designing your research. So with this, what's the nature of mind? Nature of mind, I'm going to, as I can share this in two ways. One, what is a mind? What is a mind? Next one is the next is, say, what's the true nature of the mind? Two, what is mind and what is the true nature of the mind? And the first, what is mind? The mind, as we earlier explained, the clear and knowing agent is an empirical phenomena which you can experience firsthand. And we are not to just take it very blindly, but we can empirically experience it. So in fact, I personally would say that any research that we do, particularly related to the contemporary science, it must be empirical. If the empiricity is missing, then the whole purpose is defeated. Then the research can become very dilute. So it must be empirical. It should be something observable. It should be something experienced. So with this mind, that clear knowing nature is what the mind is. What's the true nature of the mind? True nature of the mind is like, let's say, our mind as well now, what we manifest, our mind, anger, agitated, and the easily affected by external factors. These are not the true nature of the mind. The true nature of mind is like, let's say, if I take a glass of water from a dirty stream or a dirty pond, so that dirt is not the true nature of the mind. If you still this water, then all the dirt will settle down. Then the true nature manifests, which is so pure. And we can see that our mind also can manifest that experience when we settle the dirt. When we settle the mental dirt, then the purity manifests. So what is that purity like? Even this purity is not just to be taken very naively. This purity can be sensed in two ways. This mind, it is very cognitively active. Because it's very cognitively active, and the purity must be understood in the context of the cognitive activity of the mind. And say when does a mind become very agitated? For example, let me show you the screens here, and from the slides in the tamati. Okay, I request our program coordinator, this is Domala, to show the slides and just see what is your emotional reaction. What's the emotional reaction before that? Okay, so if you look at it, you were the same person before we started this this session. Now looking at this, you see that your mind is disturbed. Your mind is disturbed. So there you see, a body buried and a body being cremated, and one person the consoling another person. Your mind, you could feel some kind of sadness, some kind of this. So how come that this is happening inside your mentally? You could feel it. Physiologically, you could feel it. Physiology, you could feel the little stress, and then mentally, experientially, you can feel that you are sad. Physiologically, you could feel the heart palpitation, the stress, little tense. So this all seen happening. Why? Simply because of your mind viewing this site, So this site has nothing to do with you, but then your cognitively, your mind, cognitively, it views something, it affects the mental state, it affects your physiological state. So this is what is happening. So with this, we see that we are easily fluctuated by the external factors. We easily fluctuated by external factors. When we are fluctuated by external factors, this is not the true nature of the mind. For example, the water, as a wave, very ferocious wave created on the ocean. When it's very ferocious, that is not the true nature of the water of the ocean. And when will you see the true nature of the true nature of these waves on the ocean? Is when all the wind, tempest stops. When all the winds stop, then the water, all these ferocious waves will go back to the ocean, and the ocean will manifest its true nature. Very calm, placid, clear water. So this is the true nature of the water. So I say how our mind is so easily affected. That is all because of the cognitive activity. Your mind, you could feel the disturbance there. Physiologically, you can see the changes within you. So we see that this is not the true nature of mind. What is the true nature of mind? Where cognitively, say that nothing can affect you. And some of you may feel that, okay, that's when you do see these things, of course, you should feel empathy. Yes, empathy and that you are involuntarily affected, these two are different. Empathy is an extremely positive phenomenon, extremely positive mental activity, but the fact that your mind is affected, you feel disturbed, this is what you don't want. You want the empathy, and these two can be separated. When you manifest true nature of mind, you can still have the empathy to its highest form, but without any mental disturbance. This is very much possible if you know how to activate this true nature of mind. Now, for that matter, the Acharya Dharmagirdi, this one great teacher by the name Acharya Dharmagirdi, 7th century AD, who said that the true nature of mind is so pure, without any agitation, with full of empathy, love, cognitively vibrant. And whereas all this mental disturbance that happen to us is because these are the mental defilements which are adventitious. This is what Acharya Dharmagirdi, the 7th century great teacher, said. So now the point is that we are not to take these blindly. We're not to take it take them very blindly. So, but these are extremely important information to really see that you can actually manifest these qualities when you actually do the meditation on emptiness well. So how can we have this true nature of the mind manifested? So for that matter, let's say that how cognitively it can affect our emotions. I'll give you, last time I give an example of the water. Today I'll give you the example of the, I'll say the diamond. The diamond, let's say people are, people, they are, say they crave for diamond jewelries. They crave for diamond jewelries. And some people, they may not be keen to wear them, but they don't mind keeping them in their safe. Keeping them in the safe. This is they're so precious. There's such a craving there. So look at this diamond. So this diamond, and if I ask any ordinary person, what is this? People say that this is diamond. And then if I ask the same question to a chemist, what is this? This is just a bunch of the molecules of carbon, carbon molecules. And then if I ask a physicist, they'll say that it's just the electrons, protons, neutrons, a bunch of atoms. Okay, so, and if I ask you, who is correct? Whose answer is correct? The layperson who say that this is diamond, so precious, and a chemist, just the bunch of carbon molecules, and the chemist, the physicists who would say that it's just a bunch of atoms or electrons, protons, with the 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Who's correct? And I'm sure all of you will say that all are correct. While you say that all are correct, but emotionally speaking, we see that there are 3 different emotions arising. And if you categorize, let's say, the first and the last one, seeing as diamond and seeing as atoms, seeing as diamond, what is the emotional stir? The moment you see the diamond and put yourself this is yours, then the craving will simply escalate. This is the emotional state. Whereas a bunch of atoms given to you, this is yours. No craving. No craving. This is the difference. And in terms of atoms, the carbon has atoms which constitute the diamond, carbon has atoms which constitute the lead or the coal. There's no difference. It's just the same carbon. It's just the how they put together. Configuration is different, otherwise just the same components. So with this, they say with the first, the emotion, there's a tremendous surge of emotion there. With the second, which is just the atoms, there's no emotional stir. You are very calm and peaceful. And when we see diamond, when we see it, that is diamond, how does that diamond appear to you? As like coming from the object, I am the diamond, or your mind is projecting it? You don't see it as your mind projecting it. In actuality, it's just a projection of your mind. It's just a bunch of atoms. What is there as a diamond there, to be very honest? But it's a mental projection there, that is diamond, and then it becomes diamond. So with this, what we see is that when we see, while it is our own projection, we are unaware that we are projecting it. We see it as so real from the object. That is the one which stirs our emotions. So we don't have the freedom. We don't have the freedom not to. We don't have the freedom not to stay. To stay calm, but to be aroused by the sense of being a very precious diamond. The moment you see cognitively, you see it as a diamond. Whereas cognitively, when you see it as a bunch of atoms, your mind will be under control. So seeing things as objectively real diamond, your mind loses the control. Loss of control is the misery. This is misery. And this, if it goes uncontrolled, it can make the person into anxiety, stress, depression, so forth. And if it is a sudden jerk, it is anxiety. If it becomes chronic, it can go into depression. So this is how our cognitive thought processes have the effect on your, say, emotional world. And the mental disorders, they're all related to the cognitive thought processes. So now the best way by which to see that your cognitively thought processes are under control, and they're all, because of which all the emotions are controlled, is to wake up from the sleep of seeing things as objectively real. And it's not about philosophy, it's about the reality, to maintain, to calm your emotion, to control, to contain emotions, and to keep the emotions under control. This says you wake up by seeing the emptiness. Emptiness meaning the dream is empty of being real. There's emptiness. So when you get this experience, then your emotions are under control. This is extremely, extremely helpful for your practice. Okay. So with this in mind, okay, with this in mind, the Heart Sutra. With this in mind, I'd like to show you the 4 lines from Heart Sutra. Okay, it says that the form is empty, which means that what we say is diamond, what we say is flower, what we see as this, that, whatever triggers mental agitation, they are how these emotional states, mental, or say the emotions are triggered, is because of seeing things as objectively real. That is the one which triggers all the emotional stirs, including anxiety, depression, so forth. So for that matter, how to quell it? Because these are directly the effect of the cognitive error. You have to fix the cognitive error by seeing the reality as it is. So for that, the first line says, what we see as form, attractive, unattractive, these are all empty from the object side. They do exist. They do exist, but they don't exist from the object side. Only when you see them as objectively real, then the fears arise. For example, let's say that let me give you one example. Say that the flower in my left hand, and in my left hand, there's nothing there. And I ask you to imagine a set of blue flowers, a bunch of the most beautiful blue flowers that can possibly exist in this universe. I ask you to imagine it. And if I ask you which of the two can potentially trigger emotions in you, attachment, craving, and so forth, you will for sure say that this one, not the one that you imagine in my the right hand. Although I ask you to imagine the most beautiful flower, but this will not arouse attachment in you. Why? Because you know that this is all coming from your mind. It's not really objectively there. So when you see that it's not really objectively there, your emotions are under control. Whereas this one, you invariably see as the one in my left hand, you invariably see this as objectively real. So therefore, your mind will see this objectively real, and then your mind reacts. So this is how your emotions are being stirred. So when you see that it's all coming from your mind, instantly the emotions will subside. So this is where the meditation on emptiness has an instant power to cut the emotional stirs. So what is the physiological correlations? Say when you meditate on emptiness, and instantly your fears and so forth dissolve. So what do you see there? Say the stress hormones, how they stop, or what kind of research, what kind of the measures are there, research measures are there for to check what are the elements to check to see that when the say emotionally there's an instant control of the emotion. So what kind of say the test can be done? Physiology, what kind of tests, the hormones and so forth, in body temperature, and just these are the things that we need to check. The point is that with the meditation emptiness, meditation compassion, meditation impermanence, we see that the instantaneity, the effect of the instant, the effect is something very unique of the meditation emptiness. So how they manage the emotions, once the emotions are managed, instantly the physiological changes are being seen. Okay, this is one thing that I'd like to share with you. So the first one is form is empty, means that we see the form as objective real. Forms do exist, but when they are said empty, it's said that forms are empty of objective reality. So with this objectively empty form, objectively empty, from there the form is explained. Emptiness is form. Form does exist. It's not that form does not exist. The self does exist. The person does exist. The mind does exist. How do they exist? They don't exist objectively. They exist subjectively. Okay, this is what the next point that we need to keep in mind. And with this now, what we do is that the looking for the correlations. How they say when our mind is stirred, then the true nature is not manifested. When will the true nature manifest? When our mind does not stir. For example, like the water, when the water stops getting stirred, all the dust will settle down, and the true nature of the water manifests. Likewise, our mind, when it is not affected by the external factors, then the true nature of the mind will be manifested, which is so pure. And how can it make it manifest? How can it make this true nature manifest? So we try not to be affected by external factors. So all these practices are being done. For example, like observing, like the first, say the breathing meditation. With the breathing meditation, what happens? You deliberately try to stay away from other thoughts. That your thought is not being carried away by other the other objects. Just focus on one object. Then you try to gain the stability so that the mind will not waver, expecting that the mind will assume its true nature. This is one. Then the other one is observing the senses. Observing the senses. Again, this is another thing. You observe the senses. What is so closely associated with you is your senses. I say, what can I say? Itching feeling here, down there, within the body. Just observing them. In a very close inspection, observation. Then the thing is that you will see that the movement of your mind, and you keep observing it. This is number 2. Then number 3 is let the thoughts come and pass by. Let the thoughts come and pass by. Thoughts come and pass by, then you are not affected by the thoughts. Okay, this is still another. And still another would be just be aware, the meta-awareness. Be aware of one awareness. This is another way. Be aware of your own awareness. And this is how you go deeper into your own mind, that you are not wavered, so that mind will attain its true nature. And the still another would be like your compassion. When you are very compassionate, even the very difficult situations cannot disturb you. For example, like a very naughty child, whatever the naughty child does, the neighbors can easily be provoked, irritated, but the mother will not feel irritated. Mother will continue to embrace the child. So this love and affection is a tremendous power to control emotions. Now the emptiness. With all these meditations, there's one drawback. You continue to see things as objectively real. Even when you do the sensation meditation, even when you do the breathing meditation, even when you do the awareness meditation, the meta-awareness meditation, even you do the meditation on the thoughts passing by, they come, they arise, they pass by, just observe. But whatever comes, they are seen as objectively real. So this is like you are in the dream, and in a dream you are meditating on you're meditating, and the thoughts arise and they pass by, again they arise, pass by, but you are still in the dream. You still see these as objectively real thoughts passing by, objectively real thoughts arising. Still, there's a very subtle pull and push happening here. Very subtle pull and push, which is way beyond the conventional pull and push, conventional mental stir. You wake up. You wake up. Even the subtle pull and push that, oh, these thoughts are passing by is impermanence, objectively real impermanence, objectively real thoughts are passing by. Now it's passed by. I'm not affected. Objectively real self not affected. All these, including the subtlest version, they're all stopped. The moment you wake up, it's a total cleansing. This is extremely powerful, and not only that, it's instant. The moment you wake up, all these thoughts disturbing all these elements of the errors, gross errors, subtle errors, they all are wiped out instantly the moment you wake up. So this is extremely powerful, where it is like 100% clarity, 100% purity, 100% eradication of the mental stir happens. So this is so powerful, and this is the one benchmark that we need to keep in mind when doing the research. And in this connection, I like to bring it to your notice. We talked about this emptiness. There's emptiness in 5 layers. 5 layers, which we talked about last time. Yeah. Okay. I request Aprum Konit to show this to us. Last time you have already seen that, and I'm just wondering if you can see this again. There are 5 layers. In fact, it is like the first one is very the gross understanding of the emptiness. Second one is progressively subtler. Third one, fourth one, and the fifth one is the full awakening, the complete, leaving no trace of this seeing the dream as real, the emptiness, complete emptiness. It doesn't mean nothingness. Let's not forget it. Let's not they mix that up with the nothingness. Nothingness is nihilism, whereas emptiness should be seen as the middle way. So this is what we keep in mind. So while Aprum Konit is doing this, okay, thank you. So these are the 5 layers of emptiness, and when we say so these are all what you find taught in the Buddhist philosophy. But I'm reminding you, these are something that you have to get there, not through blind faith. If you approach these with some kind of blind faith, oh, it must be true, if this is your approach, you will never get there. It must be done through analysis, rational thinking. And it is like, for example, mathematics. 2 + 5 = 7. There's nothing 2 + 5 = 6-ish. It's 7. Whether you believe in the mathematician, or you don't believe in the mathematician, but 2 + 5 is 7. So this is reality. So this is what these mathematicians, they discovered. It's not that they invented. So likewise, all these are discovered. They are not invented by the Buddhist scholars, the Buddha and so forth. These are the discoveries. So the point is that I said that from level 1 through to level 5, they progressively become subtler. The 5th one, the last one, is the subtlest, which means that indicating that the first 5, although you see that when you experience each one of them, you have some degree of, say, even the heartbeat can slow down physiologically. And heartbeat slowing down, it can be 2 reasons. One, when the blood pressure becomes normal, from the high blood pressure to normal. 2, from normal to become 0 or become less. That's very dangerous. from high blood pressure going back to normal. This is very healthy sign. From normal it drops, that is very unhealthy sign. So the point is that for each one of these, except for the last one, each of these you experience some degree of these, any of these four levels of empty, the first four levels of emptiness. That at the heart palpitation, and even the physiologically, in other words, in physiologically, you could feel the difference there. You could feel the difference there. Instantly, you could feel the triangulating. So now, it is the job of the research, the researchers, to see what kind of test should we do to see the difference in experience among these four, the first four. And the fifth one, as I said earlier, is that the difference between the fifth and the first four is the cognitively speaking. Cognitively speaking, the first four still has the some layer yet not peeled. That is, believing the dream as real. Believing the dream as real. Only with the last one, you wake up fully and the dream. Okay, let me say that in fact, I remember some of you much of your own personal experience. I remember myself when I was during my younger days. I remember having dreamt. I started dream. Then in dream I was circumambul. I was moving around one. I say the temple, and I got a sense that I was dreaming. But although I got a sense that I was dreaming, still that the fact that the dream is still occurring, which means that still the dream has an effect on me, although it does not have strong effect on me as otherwise if I did not know that it was dream. For example, like if the dream ghost or if the dream tiger comes to attack me, if I don't know that it's dream, for sure I'll run. Whereas if I know that it's dream, I'll say that, okay, I am not afraid of you. You are my mental creation. But I'm talking to the dream tiger. I'm not afraid of you because you are mental. If the dream is not at all created in the first place, you wake up fully, then you will not even talk to the dream tiger. Which means that the fact that you talk to the dream tiger, that you are my mental projection, which means that I am still being affected by this content of the dream. Not as much as seeing the dream is real. So with the first form, there is a tendency that you believe, there is a tendency that seeing things has still some degree of objectivity. Now, with the fifth one, then all degrees of objectivity stopped, and your mind will find nothing there to affect your mind. Now, at this point, your mind will feel the total rest, ultimate rest, and its true state, not being affected by external factors, is manifested. So true experience is manifested. Okay, this says what happens, and then at that, if you really get it, you can see, you can feel the triangulate extremely profound. Physiologically, you could feel it. Physiologically, you could feel even the heart palpitation and so forth. They become so normal and very smooth and gentle. So this, you can feel it. So whereas if you say that the self does not exist, is nihilism. With the nihilism, that feeling will not come. That physiological change will not come. So where you get the emptiness, that very profound feeling will come, which indication that your mind is assuming its true nature. Now is assuming the true nature, not being affected. When do we say that this person now, this boy manifests his true nature? When do you say that? When the boy is not affected by external factors. Says somebody say, do this, do that, then the boy has to do this, do that, and so forth. So the boy does not know how to behave in his own way. So when nobody is forcing anything on him, and let him just behave in his own way, then you see that what is his true nature will come out. Likewise, our mind will manifest its true nature when it is not affected by seeing things as objectively real. So that will come to us only when we see emptiness. So this is where this research will play a very important role. Okay. So with this, before we wind up to entertain some question answers, I'd like to do a quick meditation with all of you. All of those who are interested, you can join me in this meditation. It's going to be guided meditation. And if they say it's up to the individual, if you are interested, you can do it on a daily basis, or sometimes when you go through very low phase of your life, very low phase of life, where, say, particularly nowadays in the winter, the day is short, the night is long, it's cold, humid, foggy. Then your mind also goes down. This is a tendency. How your mind, or even physiologically, one can be affected. So the mind, the energy, the physiology, the biology, they're all interconnected. So the point is, when you go through these phases of your life, if you meditate on this, then you get a glimpse of emptiness. Even if it is very gross understanding of emptiness, it doesn't matter. The moment you get a glimpse of this, you can see that your mind instantly feels uplifted. The earlier feeling of the gloominess, it will simply disappear. Okay. So we're going to do this. It's going to be guided meditation. What we do is that we will just follow the instruction, and in the process, don't try to correlate with what I said earlier, or you learn from some other people, read somewhere. Don't try to correlate anything. Just follow the instructions, and then if you want to correlate, you can correlate later, not now. So this time must be dedicated to follow the instructions, and when necessary, invoke the respective experiences. Okay, this is what we're going to do, and it may take us about like 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, ready? Okay, it's going to be just a guided meditation, and follow the instructions to the best you can. Sit very comfortably, and if possible, don't lean against the support. Don't lean against the support. Just sit upright, body upright, but very relaxed, not stiff. It should be very relaxed and flexible. Okay, and for this meditation, you want to close your eyes or you want to keep your eyes open, up to you. Generally speaking, if you are a full-fledged meditator, you are advised to do the meditation with eyes open. But if you want to just be, and for this analytical meditation, you remember last time we did the two. I explained the meditation classified into two. One is analytical meditation, other one is single-pointed meditation. For the single-pointed meditation, I would highly, highly recommend that you don't close your eyes. Do it with eyes open. Whereas for the analytical meditation, your mind is cognitively very active because you are employing this to analyze. So for that matter, with the eyes closed will not affect you as much. Your choice, finally. Okay. Okay. First, in order to quell the very gross mental agitation, let's take 7 deep breaths, just forgetting everything else. Be with the breath and take 7 deep breaths. Okay. Just think of this self, the empirical self. Empirical self meaning the I. And oftentimes, some of the philosophers, religious philosophers, they talk about Jivatman and the Brahmatman. We think about the Jivatman, which is the empirical self. The self, oh, I'm happy, I'm not happy, I'm sad, I'm scared of COVID-19, I'm scared of the Omicron variant. Okay, just this self. When this self is happy, you're freed from mental tension. When this self finds tranquility, you come out of the depression, anxiety, stress. So this empirical self, how does this empirical self appear to you? Like a dream, your dream projecting the self, or a so solid idea, so well defined? Of course, as so well defined. This is known as the cognitive erroneous ignorance, self-grasping ignorance, grasping at the objectively real empirical self. Okay, this is erroneous. And how can I know that this is erroneous? This is what functions in this world. Okay, the self exists, but the self seen is so objectively real. That perception, seeing the self objectively real as independent of your mind, this is what creates all the problem. This is the object of negation, to be negated in order to understand the emptiness of objective existence of the self. Okay, how do I know that this self does not exist objectively? How do we know? How can I know that the self exists like a dream? How can I know that? Remember what Arya-Nagarjuna, the first century AD great saint scholar, said. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? Sorry, let me repeat it. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? If this self does exist objectively, why don't I see this object? Why don't I see this self, the Jivatman or the empirical self, as I go closer to this object? Okay, now let us go closer to this object. Yes, that's true. That makes total sense. It's very rational. If it does exist objectively, then it should be findable when I go closer to this object. Okay, let's go closer to this object. How do I go closer to this object? Our eyes are so gross. We can go closer to the reality of the self by using the electron microscope. Okay, now let us use the electron microscope. Okay, so this self that you're looking at through electron microscope, this self is a male, this self is a female, this self is 50 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, and so forth. Okay, where is this self? As objective real or as like a dream your mind is projecting as? Of course, as objective real. This is erroneous. This should be seen as empty. How? Going closer to the object. We will go closest to the object and see if this self still exists. If it does exist, if it does seem to exist at that point, then our earlier judgment that the self as like a dream is wrong, or the self to be as objective real should be the correct. But let's see. Okay, through the electron microscope, you keep fine-tuning the electron microscope. First, you see the very thin layer of the self, this body of this Jivatman. Okay, going deeper, this whatever is not the self, we're going to ignore because we're looking for the self. We're not looking for anything else. So skin is not the self. Behind that is the fatty tissues, muscles, cartilages, and alongside the blood vessels and the skeleton, the brain, the heart, lungs, liver, pancreas, intestine, gallbladder. Nothing of these solid part is a self. Nothing of these solid part is a male or female. Whereas I'm a male, I'm a female. Okay, nothing of this solid part is a self. These solid parts constitute what is known as the element of earth. Next is the element of water, 4 liters of blood, which is pumped in and out by the heart to the different parts of the body. Of course, this blood, element of water, is not me, keep that aside. Element of fire, 2,500 joules of energy that a body has. Of course, that is also not the self. Element of air, 4.6 liters of air that we breathe in and out through our lungs. Of course, that is also not the self. Keep that aside. Element of space, 99%, 99.99% of our body is just vacuum space. Even the space is also not me. Space is vacuum in nature. I'm a solid person. Even the space is also not me. Keep that aside. Next, element of the mind. The mind which feels, okay, I'm a very compassionate person. I'm not a compassionate person. I'm an intelligent person. I'm not an intelligent person. I'm a short-tempered person. No, I'm a very calm person. This is all determined on the basis of your mind, mental consciousness. Even that is also not me. Remove that. Now, where is this Jivatman? Where is this empirical self? Nowhere to be seen. From the 4 essentials, we now became too close to the object with this electron microscope. What are we seeing now? We're seeing the 6 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. Which of the 6 elements, which of the parts, which of the part of the body, which of the part of the self is this Jivatman? None is this Jivatman. None is a male, none is a female. Whereas I'm a male, I'm a female. Okay, which means that you now discover that this Jivatman, the empirical self, is not one with its parts. It's empty of being one with its parts. Yes. Now, is it different from the parts? If it does exist objectively, we see only 2 possibilities. These parts are different from the parts. Okay, the parts on the self, let's now look for the other alternative. Remove all the parts to see if there's a self that's left different from the Jivatman, as left different from these 6 elements. Remove the parts, nothing is left there to be identified as a male, as a female, or as a human being. Nothing is left there. If you are convinced about this, you are understanding the emptiness of the self being different from its parts. Okay. Now, where is the self? You have come too close towards the object. So seeing from 1 kilometer away from me, you see me in water. Now coming too close to me to see what you say is water, is a mirage water. Now you see it's totally dry. There's nothing there as wet or water there. What do you conclude? What you earlier saw as water was deceptive. It was just a mirage. Likewise, you come too close towards this object and you see that nowhere to be seen the self. The self is empty from the object. Stay in this experience. Just imagine a person who is a very difficult person, someone who disturbs us too much. If you subject the same person in front of you with this analysis, even this person will disappear. What is your emotional reaction? Instantly, your agitation, anger will subside. There's nothing left there from the object to affect you. Your mind will go back to the rest. And experientially, physiologically, you could experience the acute tranquility in your mind. This is a time when your blood pressure, when the stress level, all will reduce and blood pressure will all go back to its perfect normalcy. Okay, slowly come out of this meditation before I take you to the what we call as the 5-point easy meditation emptiness. Okay, slowly come out, come out, come out. Okay, good. Okay, before we go to the, actually what we already did, that is the format of the meditation emptiness, and to what extent you get the real emptiness, it depends on how serious you are in your studies, reflection, and meditation. But if it does help you, continue with this meditation, and particularly when you go through difficulties. If you can employ this, you go to your room, close the door, sit very comfortably, take 7 deep breaths, or 5 deep breaths, or 10 deep breaths, and then as the mind calms down a little bit, then go into this meditation. Now, this same meditation, I will give you under the 5 the points. 5 points to make things easy for us to remember the steps. Okay, if you're ready, we will go to the 5 points now. Okay, you want to note them down, you can note them down. It's not necessary that you have to do it to the meditation now. So this is what we already did that before. That's going to be the articulated in 5 points. The first one is the self. The self. Number 2 is the 6 elements. Number 3 is 2 questions. Number 4 is space like emptiness. Space like emptiness. Space like emptiness. And number 5, illusion like emptiness. Okay, 5 points. Let me say this again. The first, the self, Jivatman, empirical self. The first one is the self. Number 2 is the 6 elements. Number 3, 2 questions. Number 4, space like emptiness. Number 5, illusion like emptiness. Okay. And if you can do it on a daily basis, of course, there's a great benefit. You will then gradually, for example, when you say they put up a wall out of cement and the bricks, you need time for the cement to set. So likewise, this meditation needs time to set in your mind. Once that is set, only then the effect will be felt. So for that matter, we need time. And if you can do it on a daily basis, then your mind gets time to set this meditation within you. That actual effect will be felt whenever you like to employ this at times of difficulties. Okay, with this in mind, the first, the self, when I said the self, I mean the empirical self. And the empirical self, I'm male, I'm female, I'm happy, I'm not happy, and so forth. This self. Number 1, when I say self in a meditation, you just see how this self appears to you. You can relate this to, you can replace this with somebody who you love so much, or somebody who you dislike so much, any person, or even a flower, even a car, house, whatever. You can change the object. Let's say the first self, and you just see how it appears to you, as objectively real, or as like a dream, subjectively real. And of course, it appears so objectively real, number 1. Number 2, that's 6 elements. So now you go into the reductionist. You go into the reductionist, say the approach, which we call as the ultimate analysis into the self. Then you the reductionist approach with the help of the ultimate analysis, seeing the self where the self is objectively. Then you come to see that there are only 6 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. 6 elements. So just take this experience of 6 elements. Be very sincere with this practice. Don't just say that, yes, I'm made of 6 elements. If you say like this, there's no benefit. You have to go one by one, and earth, all the solar parts, like the skull, the thin skin, the fatty tissues, the heart, the lungs, the skeleton, the blood vessels, the liver, the spleen, all these things. You have to just scan the body very slowly to go into the paths, the 6 elements. Then the next two questions. The first question is, what are you seeing? The first question, what are you seeing? I'm just seeing the 6 elements. Stay there. Just try to see the 6 elements. Earth, water, fire, air, space, and consciousness. Second question, where is this objective self? Second question, where is this objective self? Answer is, it is nowhere to be seen. The parts, the elements of the self, different from the elements, there's nothing left, there's a self. There's nowhere to be seen. The self is nowhere to be seen objectively. From the object, there's nowhere to be seen as a self. Okay, when you get this answer, you stay in this experience. That is the number 4, space like emptiness. Stay in this experience. This is not what I'm inventing. This is what I'm discovering. That the self, objectively, there's nothing to be identified as this jivatman. Objectively, there's nothing to be identified as this self. Okay, stay in this experience. And feel sometimes triangular experience, sometimes tickling sensation in the body, sometimes goosebumps will be formed in the body, sometimes cold waves will flow through your body. And of course, sometimes a tinge of fear can come in you. If a tinge of fear comes to you, this is an extremely auspicious sign. This is a very good sign. This is not a bad sign. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And this experience is simply because it clashes with our ignorance, with our habitual chronic ignorance, believing the self to be existing object real. So this clash there, because of this clash is manifested in the form of fear. You continue with this practice, the fear will be replaced by a very tranquil experience from deep inside your heart. You can feel it from within the heart. At that point, instantly your heartbeat, blood pressure, everything will just go to such a perfect level of balance. You could feel it instantly. You could feel even the heartbeat become extremely normal, and you can mind inside physiology, you will feel extremely tranquil the moment you get it. Okay. So then this is the space like emptiness, stay in this experience. And don't forget, space like emptiness should be non-affirming negative. Last time we talked about the positive phenomena, negative phenomena. With the negative phenomena, affirming negative, non-affirming negative. If it is affirming, instantly this experience will disappear. The physiological tranquility, physiological felt tranquility, it will instantly disappear when the positive phenomena comes to your mind. So when it disappears, which means just keep track of your mind, keep watch of your mind, and see that your mind, whether it has the positive phenomenon as an object or non-affirming negative. If it is positive phenomena, again ask 2 questions. 2 questions. If you ask the 2 questions with the answer to the second question, you get the non-affirming negative. The self is not there objectively. When that comes to you, instantly the non-affirming negative comes, and the indication is that instantly you can feel the physiological reaction coming to you. Reaction in the sense, physiological calmness and tranquility comes to you. So at that point, that would be wonderful if in the research you can test the stress level, you can stress the hormonal flow level, you can test the temperature, you can test the bodily reactions or electromagnetic, say the signals, whatever, you can test it. Okay, this is, and then from there, when you come out of the meditation, be aware that what I'm seeing, objectively, there's nothing there. Now, the self again, the jivatman again comes back. Okay, again, the Dorji, the male, female, and again, it comes back. So that is objectively is empty. Now it is just the perception is coming back. perception. Perception means it's a pure subjective experience. Pure subjective experience is known as illusion. Illusion. So the number 5 is illusion like emptiness. So be aware of this illusion like emptiness. In that experience, if you can retain that experience, sustain this experience for a longer duration of time, then later on when you do the meditation emptiness, that experience will be more powerful and more efficacious. Okay. So with this, what happens is that your unnecessary agitations will all subside. And unnecessary agitations subside, you will come out of depression. You will come out of anxiety. You will come out of stress. This is what happens. And by seeing the other side of the emptiness, which is dependent origination, you will see how to enlarge, how to expand the circle of your compassion voluntarily. And there the joy multiplies. And by cutting the ignorance, seeing this object real, all the tension, anxiety, anguish dissolves. By seeing dependent origination, your joy and happiness multiplies. Your tension dissolves and the joy and happiness multiplies. So this is the effect of the meditation on emptiness. Okay, that's it. And if you have some questions before we close this session, most welcome. Oh, there's no phone.
Professor Bindu Kutty, if anybody from the research scholars would have any questions. Okay. Professor Ravindra, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have one query. When anybody are meditating in this process of deep, in the process of this ultimate analysis type, how subtle will be the difference between the imagination, Geshe, what you told, and the real experience?
Okay, this is a very good question. So now that the Dr. Ravindraji, you were learning this, you learned it. So therefore now this question came. So later on, when you do research on somebody, and a person may think that a person is meditating on emptiness, and actually it can be just an imagination. It's not the reality that is hitting the person. So how do we, one thing that we can evaluate is first we have to check the knowledge of the person. Check knowledge of the person before you let the other person to meditate. And if possible, not only you hire an expert to ask questions to this person to see the accuracy of the knowledge of the person. Even the research scholars, you also must have some knowledge of this. And then while this interrogation is happening or question answer is happening, you should be also there, because you should be the one you are the one who's doing the research, and you must get the research subject, the proper research subject. For that matter, it's so important that you should also have a good command over this subject. Okay, with this, through oral question answer, you can see the degree of the knowledge of the person. And if you're very happy that if the real scholar says that, okay, this person is good, the experience, the understanding of empty is very good, then you can make the person meditate. And say, and the one thing that I may suggest is that they say, what is that like with the multiple subjects, with the many subjects, some who are really, really being respected for having really good understanding, profound understanding of the subject. When you do this test, particularly effect towards the heart, which I cone, which I mentioned as number one, extremely triangle. Physiologically, you could feel it. Physiologically, number one, very triangle feeling. And then number two, the goosebumps. Number three, the cold waves flowing. Number five, tickling sensations. And these indications, and what would be like, and then the heart palpitation, heartbeat, and then the blood pressure and so forth, they're all going to a perfect normalcy, going towards that direction. Okay, so what tests are there to do to check these? If you're able to do this very properly, then most likely you will see that there's something very uniform to the people who are really respected in the big monastic universities. They're not just that somebody, okay, trained for emptiness for 5 days, 1 week, 1 workshop. This will not help. And so with these, you will get some idea that, okay, this is what is happening. These tests shows this grade when you do with the people who are very good in the meditation emptiness. So then you can use that as a one way to say the index to see the effect of the meditation emptiness on the brain or the physiologically. So the point is that the experiential speaking, if it's just in pure imagination, that experience will be far away. It will not happen. Whereas if it is the real experience, then these very subtle changes will be seen. But for that, we need some tests, So these are the experience one can potentially go through, can have. But for that, we need corresponding tests. What kind of instruments do you have? Or what kind of test can be done? Not necessarily instrument. Yeah. Unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. However, there should be some methodology from the traditional perspective also to assess the progress in this emptiness meditation, for a person who is doing meditation, whether he's really getting these experiences or he's just telling. So what is the traditional
so
way
that
of assessing?
is traditionally speaking. In fact, I'll just share you a story. Yes, the same amongst the people, scholars, we can see that some are exceptionally good scholars, but they may not be meditating. Their knowledge is so refined, but they may not be meditating. Some may not be good scholars, but they're meditating. Because they are not so good scholars, their meditation it requires a cognitive sharpness that is missing. So meditation is like blunt, it's not sharp. Whereas you do find some who are very refined scholars, cognitive extremely sharp, plus very good practitioners meditating. So there you can see the real effect very clearly. So in this connection, we can easily figure that out. From question answer, we can easily figure out who are the people who have sharp experience of sharp understanding of the subject, and also who are doing good meditation. You can easily figure that out. For that, I would say that you need the help of really refined teachers. You need help of these, and you also should have some amount of the knowledge. What we did the four-day session. So these you can use as you get used to this, learn from them, and then you will be also in a position to see that with help of these great teachers, you can see who are the good meditators with the very sharp the cognitive faculties and who are not. We can make this decision. That's not so difficult. And okay, story was that at the time of the Buddha, two men, one very young boy and the one in age 20 or age 30, other ones just like age 8, 9, 10, like a very early teenage. And two of them joined the monastery together. And both of them were trained in the philosophy and psychology. And after about like 10 years, The younger one was extremely intelligent. Elder one, of course, he was already old, not old, I'll say like age the 30s. And the younger one is like age 10, very young. So young one, by the time he reaches age 20, he became an exceptionally refined scholar. And he had a huge following, so many students. And the other one, the joining age was like 30, and then after 10 years, 40, and knowledge was not so good. But whatever he learned, he was meditating. One day, the two of them it was time that two of them were somehow going to meet. When they were to meet, naturally the younger one was to really be contemptuous of the elder one. Already 10 years passed by, still you have not learned anything, you are just a dull person. This was what the young one was bound to criticize or insult the elder one. And at that point, before two of them met, the Buddha appeared. And the young one's students, like 500 students were there. And in front of these students, the Buddha asked questions to the young one. And the young one could not answer many questions. He could not. And the Buddha asked the same questions to the elder one. And the elder one gave all the answers. And the young one, the Buddha, in a way, in a very gentle way, the Buddha said that if you study too much, but if you don't practice, then the purpose is defeated. The purpose is not fulfilled. The Buddha indicated this to the younger one. Then the younger one students, there are like 500 students. They were they were just baffled. What is this? So Buddha did not really praise our teacher. Our teacher is really learned, a great scholar. And the elder one, he doesn't know anything, but the Buddha praised him. And not our teacher, why? The matter was reported to the Buddha, and the Buddha said, that's very true. I agree that your teacher is so learned, but he didn't really practice it. Whereas this elder one, although he's not as learned as your teacher, but he really practiced all these last 10 years. So my questions are not questions. My questions are not just intellectual, they're experiential. So the elder one is able to give all the answers, but not the younger one. So this is what the Buddha says. So what I'm saying is that these things can be, can be done, can be evaluated on a basis of the oral, say the question answer. That's easy. Okay, Dr. Ravindraji.
Thank you, Krishnaji.
Physiology, can I ask you one question?
Yes, Dr. Binduji.
This anyway, yesterday you have told us the answer for it, but still I just wanted to get more clarity. That you said understand more about the differences between various meditation practices like mindfulness, compassion, and emptiness meditation. Like these 4 classes may not be enough. You need to go for more and more classes. But still, I just wanted to ask you some basic fundamental question. What I wanted to get some answers from you. See, for example, when one starts doing this mindfulness meditation, definitely one can attain this equanimous and non-judgmental mind. So when you continue in that meditation practice, also all degrees of objectivity disappears, and you can also experience.
Okay, this is a very good question. My question to you, my question back to you is that if somebody does a meditation on the mindfulness, do you think that this person, after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of the meditation mindfulness, the person will realize the quantum mechanics Will he know quantum mechanics? He will not. Impossible, to be very honest.
Yes.
And no, don't expect that. For quantum mechanics, you have to study quantum mechanics. So therefore, with this, the quantum mechanics, where it talks about the principle of the uncertainty principle, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the double slit experiment, the wave particle nature of the same object, and so forth. These one has to study. It's not possible, even if I meditate on this, mindfulness, whatever, for ages, for 100 years. Don't expect to understand quantum mechanics without being taught. You have to study quantum mechanics separately. Likewise, with the wisdom of emptiness, same thing. With the wisdom of emptiness, just focus on wisdom of emptiness. And if you don't practice compassion, don't expect that with the wisdom of emptiness, compassion, it will become very expansive, compassion coming to you, impossible. So these are all separate practices. Eventually, the same individual, if you practice mindfulness, compassion, emptiness separately, at a certain stage, then these three can merge where you put effort in one, other will invariably become powerful. So this is what happens at a later stage. So otherwise, this is not possible. All these have to be done separately. In fact, just a little joke. What happened was that when I was very young meaning when I was, I think, age about maybe like 13, 14, and we used to have the tradition to always receive blessings from, some teachers. Teachers meaning not your academic teachers, but the spiritual teachers. We go to receive blessings. And, the teachers, they touch their hands on your forehead, meant as a gesture, blessing you. And particularly when you are approaching our exams, school exams, you go to the spiritual teachers, please bless me that I perform well. And one question always struck me. I was always stuck with one question. Question is that the Tibetans, we have so many spiritual gurus from who we can receive these blessings before the examination, but we never topped in the Central Board of Secondary Education. All the toppers are Indians. Tibetans, they never top. How come? What's the use of this blessing? This was the question that was coming to me. And today I follow the spiritual tradition, but I'm very proud that was my very skeptical thinking, and I still agree with this. With the blessing, don't expect quantum mechanics. You understand quantum mechanics. Don't expect that. You have to study it. Quantum mechanics. Likewise, with blessings, don't expect the wisdom of emptiness. You have to study wisdom of emptiness. Okay, more questions? Okay, if not, then we'll stop here. Dr. Bindu ji. Okay, teacher Nadund. Okay. So Dr. Bindu ji, thank you so much. And I really appreciate that finally this knowledge that you are trying to let it come out on the basis with your research, and finally it should be the good of the humanity. That we see that nowadays there are so many youngsters. There is a tremendous increase in the youngsters with the mental disorders, stress, anxiety, tension, depression, suicide. Is very sad. And there is a way. The only thing is that these, these medicines, panacea, they all remain uncovered. They all remain covered, and they need to be, unveiled. They need to be used. That people should use this, and that they should come out of this depression. They should come out of the stress. They should come out of the anxiety and so forth. And these things, and these are the great treasures of the world. Not only India, not only Buddhism, is the treasures of the world. Anybody, for example, like, let's say, the relativity theory, quantum mechanics, They come from, say, Niels Bohr, Einstein, and so forth. But these are treasures of the world. For example, the samadhi practices of India, they are the treasures of the world. Practice of compassion, they are the treasures of the world. And likewise, the meditation emptiness. These is such a brilliant treasure of the world, and we must make use of these to help the humanity, to help the youngsters to come out of the depression. And tradition-wise, say somebody is a Hindu, remain a good Hindu. Somebody is a Muslim, remain a good Muslim. For example, like this Vipassana. This is so beautiful practice that anybody can use it. Anybody can use it to heal your, say, the mental anxiety and so forth. Meanwhile, whatever tradition that you're following, being Christian, remain a good Christian. Jew, remain a good Jew. Non-believer, remain a good non-believer. So this is how it should work. For example, say I usually say that say pizza. You can enjoy pizza, no need to become Italian. So likewise, you can use these. For example, we study quantum mechanics, we study relativity theory. It doesn't mean that I become Einstein's, Einsteinism. No, you remain a good person yourself. Finally, your problem should be over. Your stress, anxiety should be over. And later on, so this, let's say the world should see the decrease in the number of the people going through depression, stress. There should be some panacea. There should be some solution to overcome these stress and so forth. And it's not that wisdom emptiness is the solution to all the problems. No, some people, they may not have the capacity to understand emptiness. But there are many people who can understand it and reap the maximum benefit out of this, that their anxiety can be quelled. So for that matter, NIMHANS, under the leadership of Dr. Binduji and your student, Dr. Ravindraji, two of you and your whole team, Gulshan and all others, you can make a great contribution to, say, disseminate or to bring this precious treasure of the world to come to light, where anybody can use this to quell the mental disease, mental disorders. Okay, thank you, Dr. Binduji, Dr. Ravindraji, Gulshan, and each and every one of you, all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishalaji, for that wonderful learning experience we had in this past 4 days, 4 classes. And it has given us much insight. And also, we got a lot of clarity on our thought process and thinking, actually. And a lot of misconceptions also we had. So all these have been removed. And we have got a much clarity now on what we are going to now, collaborate on our studies. And also we are thinking now the translational possibilities of this, as you said, these techniques can be translated for various psychotherapy associated with these mental disorders. Some of my students, our students, they have come forward. They wanted to now study Buddhist meditation. Plus, they wanted to now be a part of this our team. To initiate the studies. So that is the plus point. Students are motivated to know more about these meditation practices, and they also wanted to do some research on these aspects. So we will keep you informed about how we are going to go about this studies through mails and through WhatsApp. We will keep you informed. And thank you so much for taking your time and for taking this initiative and to teach us all these valuable insights, valuable wisdom from this class teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Binduji. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all for participating in this 4 days course. Thank you all. Nice meeting you online. Thank you. We will keep you informed about our study also in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Binduji and Dr. Ravindraji and Gulshanji. We shall see you in our next session. And to all the participants, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.